This one in the back, it probably is better, yeah.
You want this one?
Yeah.
All right, I see some heads back there, so yeah. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about heroin, just give you kind of the one-on-ones of that real quick. Let you know what we're seeing on the streets from a law enforcement standpoint, and what we're doing from a law enforcement standpoint, and as a community. Okay, so first off, with heroin, we see it in three forms as we're seizing it during some of our undercover operations. We're seeing it in the liquid form, we're seeing it in the powder form, and we're seeing it in the black tar sticky form. But the majority of the stuff we're taking off the streets right now, as you probably guessed, is the powder form, okay? Most people don't start out with injecting heroin. They start out with either smoking it, because it's laced with something. They start out inhaling it from a pop can or aluminum foil. But nobody ever starts off just with injecting it. And what we're seeing now, as compared to the 1970s and 80s when they had a spike in heroin, is the purity levels. It's very, very important. In the 70s and 80s, we saw about 10% purity in heroin. Anybody want to guess what it is today? What we're taking off the streets in Manatee County? I was told it's 80. No, not quite 80. It's around between 40 and 60, which is significant. It's huge. People are dying on shooting up heroin alone. You hear a lot of stuff about what they're cutting it with. Again, back in the 60s and 70s, they cut it with starch. They cut it with sugar, baby formula, powdered milk, that sort of thing. Today, they're cutting it with other opioids, most notably fentanyl. Anybody hear of fentanyl? Yeah, it's a pain management powder. Fentanyl is 50 more times potent than heroin. So you already know how deadly heroin is. Add 50 more times potency to that mixture, and you can see we got a major problem here. Okay, so how is heroin used? Like I just said, you can either smoke it, inject it, inhale it, but again, most of the deaths that we're seeing is because of the injection. Okay, so how did we get here? I talked to a few of you here earlier before I started my speech. Well, as many as you know, back in 2012, the legislators got together and they shut down the pain management clinics, otherwise known as the pain mills, pill mills. And what happened there is you left this huge void for those people that were addicted to pain pills, opioids. So where were they going to get their fill from? Because the doctors all of a sudden were keeping their feet to the fire. Streets. You got it. Somebody said it. Streets. Okay? And who stepped in? Heroin. And heroin is actually cheaper than the pain pills. You can get a prescription for pain pills. It's going to cost you about $40, $30 a pill. Our guys are buying it for about $15 a hit. So the cost is there. We've got a void. And I haven't said this yet, but Manatee County is not the only county that has a problem in Florida. Florida's not the only problem in the United States has a problem. We're actually about 2 years behind the folks up in the Northeast, the folks in the Midwest. So it's just not a Manatee County epidemic, a Florida epidemic. It's a United States epidemic. And if you kind of look to another country, Russia, they have one of the biggest epidemics there is in the world. And if we don't do something about it, we're going to find ourselves in big trouble. Okay, so where's heroin coming from? Anybody want to guess? Mexico. Good answer.
It's not growing there, is it?
Well, the poppy plant is actually grown in Mexico, the biggest, and in Central America as well. Most people think it has this connection to Afghanistan and our relation there. Listen, Afghanistan is the #1 producer of the poppy plant. That's where heroin is originated from. But all of their heroin goes to North Africa, Europe, and Asia. Ours, the United States, is getting trafficked through our very porous borders, through the mail, through air, through tunnels, through the border of Arizona, California. But you're absolutely right, it's Mexico and Colombia. They're the two top producers right behind Afghanistan and the poppy plant. So that's where it's originating from. The cartels are shipping it up here, and they have a very sophisticated distribution network in the United States. I'm a captain of the Special Investigations Division. It's my job to be able to catch those folks. And I want to be really, really clear here. I want everybody's attention. It's my job to be able to catch those folks that are trafficking. We have zero interest in those folks that have addiction diseases. That includes heroin, pills, cocaine, fentanyl. We are not interested in arresting the addicts. We understand. I love this venue. million demand, and that also is part of our problem here. All right, so what is the Sheriff's Office doing? One of the things we're doing is we're educating every deputy at the Sheriff's Office. We're letting them know what we can do to help addicts that want help. Some of you have seen the cards up here. Your Life Matters. Every law enforcement officer for the Manatee County Sheriff's Office has a stack of those cards. Okay? We don't encounter people so we can throw them in jail. We encounter them to make sure that they have the opportunity to get the help they want. Okay? So we've educated every one of them on the 101s of heroin, what to look for, and how to get folks help. Two very important things we're doing as well. Anybody heard of the Good Samaritan Law?
Yes.
All right, Good Samaritan Law, I'll tell you real quick. If somebody seeks, in good faith, seeks medical help for someone that's experiencing an overdose, they themselves cannot be prosecuted or arrested. Okay? Real simply. I'm using heroin, my friend here is using heroin, she overdoses, I call 911 and I've got heroin on me, I can't be arrested or charged. Nor can she if she's got needles and heroin on her, okay? You're protected under the law. You are protected